and this is how we start the podcast now.
So Essentially.
Welcome to So Essentially, episode 9. Wow, it feels like forever since we've done episode 8, which had felt forever since we've done episode 7.
Yes,
What's
but
going
I think
on with
we
us?
just kind of clarified how we're gonna keep on track.
Yeah, right.
I think
yeah.
moving was a little bit of it was a little tricky, but now that we're settled in, I think we have a game plan on what we want to do, and I think that we're gonna start getting out some regular contento here shortly.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So what's been going on
Spanglish.
in your life, Max? Yeah.
What's been going on in old Maxie's life? I've been doing a lot of kind of restructuring things of the way I do. Just like putting like there's things that like when you first start in my industry, you're like always like just throwing darts in the air. And in the past couple of weeks, I'm like, kind of revisiting what's worked, what's not worked, what kind of strategies that I think that like if I didn't like just it kind of honestly making up for some things that I probably shouldn't have stopped doing, but got distracted with other things, not in a bad way, but like for instance, like we do geographical farming, meaning that we pick like neighborhoods and we like door knock them and we send flyers and things, and there's monthly mailers. And I was actually doing it before I joined up with my partner Davis. I was doing it in my little neighborhood, and usually like a bit like you want to do anywhere like it was a pretty small farm, like only 350 houses, which might sound like a lot, but an average farm's like 500, right? But instead of like keeping up with what I was doing, I just kind of like Davis and I made an agreement on his farm, and so I just kind of just started like doing all like the door knocking and the events and everything, and I kind of skipped over what I was doing with my area and my territory. And I kind of came to a realization moment after talking to another agent in there who's a cool dude. And I just like, wow, there's no reason I stopped doing that. It's not like I don't have the time, and it would be relatively easy to just start it back up. And I think that we could be very successful because there's not a lot of agents that market that area. And it was just, I've been doing like for the past 2 weeks, I just kind of like, okay, dude, like, you're rolling a little bit, like what is like what I like to call like lucky business and what is strategic business to me. Like, and I'm not saying lucky, but like, I don't want to always have to like, when you start out, and what I've done a lot of is I went out and chased business. I mean, you're always going to be chasing business, but like, I mean, I closed on a deal yesterday. I met them at an open house a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. And so like, I'm out there like hunting, right? Like I'd rather not hunt. I'd rather farm and be able to like have sustainable business. I mean, and like that being said, like you kind of have to do what I did at the beginning, but like at this, so that's kind of where I'm at right now is I'm kind of trying to restructure and really get down to like, honestly, as stupid as it sounds, like the basics of just business and the way, because like realistically in my business, if you can get it down like pat, you don't have to spend a lot of time working on real estate. And that is as crazy as that sounds, like I could put like make like a successful real estate career. I could bottle that up into like almost, I would say 40 hours or less a week. So I like that can like open up your whole world, and you're in like within real estate, like you're making good money. Right. So like, and like, there's like starting to be like rumors of like opportunities to start up other, like maybe like some other avenues. And it would be nice to just have that ball rolling while, so I can, I can have a business why I can go start other things too as well. Because if you're not working full 100%, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fun. I mean, that's a really cool opportunity to not have to, when you're scaling, trade all of your hours for all of that money. And I feel like in
Right.
my industry, that's sort of commonplace where it's like, unless you move up the ranks as like, from a graphic designer to an art director to creative director,
Right.
if you're staying in as a graphic designer, you're always trading your hours for more money. But if you're
Right.
moving to other roles where you can leverage value, then you can like work a not terrible, amount of hours per week. But I love that. I mean, that sounds really cool about real estate is
Yeah, I
that it
mean,
feels
and
like it's
it's like,
scalable.
don't get me, and like that's where I think the common misconception of real estate is right there,
Mm,
is that people think they can do it. It's not easy. It's not easy by any
sure.
means. And it takes a long time. I don't think. I mean, although you know me, I'm already looking. I always do like side things here and there, and like I'm not going to skip about opportunities. But like to do what I'm doing in real estate will take a decent amount of time. It's not going to just be like, oh shit, Max, just decided that things are going to work out in a 40-hour work week and bada boom bada bang they do. I mean, you have to like work a little bit to get there. um but yeah, so and that is the cool thing about real estate. And the other really really like enjoyable thing about my job is like a lot of it is like I can go play pickleball, and that that's legitimately work for me, of like going out and like being around people, meeting people. And for somebody like me, that's good news, because like I don't have the attention span to probably do what you do.
It's funny because I don't think I have the attention span to do what I do, and I don't think I would
If you
have the attention span to do what you do. Well, I mean, maybe I would, but I would get burnt out really quick because I think you're more of a people person. But I get it; it's like two different people in fields where they find different success.
You
Like you
definitely
find
have a better
success.
attention span than I do, because like the fact of the matter is like I don't know. I think, and like this is like I'm not trying to discount anybody else, like else's shit, right? But I think there's different levels of ADHD. I happen to have a pretty severe one, like
Yeah,
a really severe one. And I'm not saying I, dude, like I'm thankful for my ADHD. It makes me who I am. But I see how other people operate, and there's just something like I operate on like on a higher level of ADHD than a lot of people, because I see it. Like I couldn't imagine, you tell me like, oh dude, like you grind it out. um here's the interesting thing. And this, I hope if somebody's listening to this that has severe ADHD like myself, like here's one thing that like possibly you might not be able to control. I can control it a little bit. Is, I swear, if you have like major ADHD, working in a quiet environment where there's not a lot of people is key. Like key. Now I choose to go in the office because that's where like you know everybody is, and like I could work from home. I do work, and whenever I'm working from home, or I work from home and it's like dead quiet, I just have the windows open and I'm in my zone, I could sit down there for hours and get work done. As soon as you put me in front of other people, I am fucking a lost cause. And I try, and like I mean like I can really like power it out, but like yeah, I mean like really ADHD, like you really need to have like, but it's interesting, and I don't know if this little tidbit will help anybody, but if you're super hyperactive, I've found that doing anything while listening to loud music will make you concentrate.
I found that to be true when I discovered like it's kind of funny. Like I started listening to like actually listening to Metallica albums like front
Mm.
to back like for the first time in
I should do
college.
that.
And like because I mean I'd heard, I mean everyone knows Metallica, but I'd never actually
Of
given like a
course.
listen to their full length album. And a coworker of mine recommended actually this was right after college. Coworker of mine recommended me like, dude, listen to this album by Metallica, and I'm forgetting the name of it, but it's like the remastered one that everyone listens to is like the go-to, like one of their best albums, at least that's what they would
Yeah,
say. And
isn't it Motorhead, or no, not is, I forget what the fucking album is. I can
let me look
name
it up.
Led
I'm
Zeppelin.
curious. Metallica
I can
albums.
name Led Zeppelin albums. I can't name.
It was Master of Puppets. I think it was
Yeah,
literally
Master
just the
Puppets. I don't know
remastered
why.
Master of
Motorhead's another
Puppets
band.
album.
I'm an idiot.
Motorhead's another band. And I listened to
Uh,
that full blast with like noise canceling headphones at work, like in almost an uncomfortable level of loudness where I was like,
yeah,
I like this sounds fucking awesome and I love this music,
yeah,
but how the fuck am I gonna, and then all of a sudden I was just like, let me just try. I like 2 hours went by and I wasn't even aware of anything. I just was in the flow. It's kind of crazy. So I mean
yeah. No,
it
I do
works.
the same thing. So like uh, I do that. I do like if I'll listen to like Led Zeppelin 3, and I could like there's not a lot I can't get done. if I have that blaring in my ears. And the best thing to ever happen to me was Apple's noise canceling headphones. Like that, those
100%.
things have saved my life. Like
So
like
good. So,
like
so
like
good.
it's so good. I'm gonna get the new ones. They're just it's like so good. Like, dude, I mean, and like as shitty as that to sound, but if you get stoned to do that, it's like an extra effect. So
I can only
but
imagine. Yeah.
yeah, no, if you really need to grind something out and you're super hyperactive, highly suggest loud music, noise canceling headphones. It just gets you in the zone. I think that honestly, there's they definitely Apple with 100% certainty. That was a big reason why they put those out
For
because you could even
ADHD
tell
people?
for no, just for
Or what for
concentrate.
what?
I mean,
For
maybe
concentrate. I'm
I
sure.
you know
Yeah.
like I said, like I do believe that like people are just hyperactive. I don't know if like ADHD is like it's a pretty blanket statement. I think a lot of people. I think generally, if you sit somebody behind a computer for a long time, they're gonna have some attention deficit
I think there are.
problems.
Well, I'm of the mind that ADHD is probably overdiagnosed, but it's very much a real thing because there are people in school that outshined me. That I could that blew my mind. Like, how could someone, for example, I remember having a math tutor in high school,
Mm,
and I sat down with him and he saw me like about half an hour into the lesson. I was trying to absorb the best I could. I genuinely was trying my hardest. Half an hour into the lesson, he noticed that I was like fidgeting a lot and I was just like
mm.
rocking back and forth in my chair. I was just like restless. I was like, oh, like super tired. He's like, yeah, what's going on? I'm like, I've never, how do you study for more than an hour straight? That blows my mind. And he's like, yeah,
Yeah,
I do it for 6 hours straight sometimes. And I'm like, how do you do that? Because I genuinely asked him, like, how do
dude,
you get
I
to the
can't
point where you
do
do that?
anything for more than 25 minutes without
Yeah,
like that would
without
like
needing to
if
switch
I
it up.
like even like I could be playing pickle. I like I swear like I'm a good pickleball player, right? Like I will say
Hmm.
that like I'm a decent pickleball player at this point. Okay, I'm a decent pickleball player, maybe 50% of the time because the other 50% of the time I'm having a fucking complete different conversation in my head, not pertaining to pickleball.
Yeah,
Like
it's
and then I'm a disaster, you know. Then
yeah,
I'm
no,
playing catch up
it's
the entire game.
like those people who can focus 6 hours straight, like that math tutor to me was a superhuman. And I asked him, and he's like, yeah, it comes through repetition, and it comes through learning to be patient with yourself and extend that period. And I'm sure that if I like tried my hardest and was like the only thing I was focusing on was trying to extend the amount of time, I could do it at some point. But that's to say that people with ADHD have a much harder time doing that by default. And people who don't have ADHD, their minds just work like that and they can sit in classrooms and they can focus 100% and they can dedicate their brain power to something that's directly in front of them. And I feel like you have to play this game when you have ADHD. And it depends on how severe it is. I think your ADHD is much more severe than mine. So mine is more pernicious in that like I'm not hyperactive all the time, but
Right.
I'm like my energy bar for doing tasks throughout the day gets depleted extremely quickly. And if I'm like procrastinating doing shit, that's also depleting it. So by the end of the day, if I'm still at work and my energy bar is depleted, like I might as well be sitting out in a field, like laying down on the ground. Like I can't do anything. It's just it's extremely hard for me to do something. And
So,
mhm.
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Um, there's a Joe Rogan shout out. There's an episode. I think the guy's been on more than once, and I really wish I remember the name of his company. Even I don't remember his name, but he was like a professional bow hunter or archer, and he
Oh, I think I know
created
what you're
this
talking
like
about. Yeah.
yeah this method of like perfecting archery that is now really helped combat like attention deficit disorder basically, and he's gone on to speak at colleges and all, uh and I'm totally botching. I hopefully maybe we can find it. I don't know. It's like shot tech maybe.
Shot tech. Let me look that up.
Shot Tech or Joe Rogan. The dude's son's like a professional archer too.
Okay, nice. Wow. And so, what about it sort of
So,
helps with
anyways,
ADHD? Like, how is that structured?
it's just all of his mental, like the your inner dialogue. And like one thing I picked up from the episode was that he literally, like, when he's trying to hit like a target on a bow, right? And he's like he's like he has tons of awards, whatever. Um, he literally talks himself like a step by step by step by step by step. Like, I am now picking up the bow. I'm raising my hands. I'm aiming at the target. I'm pulling back the string. I'm
Mm,
letting go. And you just like talk to yourself like you're one with, like, and I do that. Like, that's a big way that I kind of, and I picked that up from there. I don't know, like, you listen to those podcasts and you pick up tidbits. That's the problem with, I mean, there's no problem with it because you wouldn't be getting the tidbits anywhere else. But that's what I've always found. Like, I'll listen to a podcast and I'll probably retain, and there it goes right there is the ADHD. I'll retain like maybe 35% of like the meat of the information, but like whatever. And that's what I retained from there. And it's really helped. Like, I mean, I do it a lot in like pickleball where I'm like, okay, like I'm like watching the ball. Like, I could like talk myself through what I'm doing. But I also, like, in the mornings, if I'm in the office and like a lot of people are talking and I can't really focus, I literally, if I have to do one email, I keep going like, gotta send this email to Andrew, gotta send this email to Andrew, sending this email to Andrew. I'm typing out the email right now. I'm gonna type out the email, I'm gonna send it to Andrew. And like, just like, cause like that's in my mind like the only way I could stay on task in that situation, you know? So
sure.
there you go.
It's really interesting. I was just looking this up in the meanwhile while you were talking. Talk about ADHD. Sorry, that's my
Yeah.
research brain coming out. But
At
I
least yours
saw
is
in
productive and me not just thinking random fucking thoughts about whatever airplane I was looking at. I'm standing on the pickleball court going, oh, wow, I wonder what conversation they're having up there. And all of a
two
sudden,
sides of the
fucking,
same coin,
here
so
comes the
I'm
fucking
not any
ball,
better.
bitch. Yeah.
um, I was looking at mindfulness, and because I remember seeing a research paper about this. It's basically what you're talking about. This guy who was on Joe Rogan talking about walking through every single step of what he's doing. It's a form of mindfulness meditation, and there are many studies showing that mindfulness meditation can decrease and be nearly as effective as medication, as SSRIs, to counteract depression and anxiety. And mindfulness meditation has been like studied a lot. And so it's the same concept, basically walking through what exactly you're doing and walking your brain through each step of the process, noticing how you feel, what your emotions are doing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's really interesting what a lot of that can do. And it's the hardest thing, I think, as an ADHD person to sit down and do that. But once you do, it's like,
I think that,
I try and
like,
practice mindfulness, and it's like crazy what my
but
brain
you know what I've
can do. It feels
learned?
like a
And like,
drug.
I think that between you and I, like, Andrew and I always say that, like, we kind of even each other out in certain ways. And I think that one thing that I might be good at might be not overthinking things. Like, a lot of people, I think, with like, I listened to that video or that podcast with Joe Rogan, right? And it's not like I don't beat myself up that I have to try that every day or I have to wake up in the morning and I try that. Like, I use that like I use that throughout the day. Like, if a certain situation comes up, that pops into my head and I use it. And so, like, I think people like go down paths of like trying to meditate and things like that. That, yes, it's good to stay on a pattern with things, but also, like, I think sometimes when things are too forced, they become like a need to do and not like not like I have to do, I don't want to do, you know and like those little tidbits. And I think, like, but like I was also listening to another podcast the other day where, like, like I am a strong believer that meditation doesn't have to look like laying down on the ground and sitting there and staring up at the wall or staring up at the sky or whatever. I'm not saying that's bad. I do it from time to time, but like, I think I could get in a mental state on a run as much as I can get in a mental state there. Like when you're
100%.
really,
There are
you know,
activities that are meditative, and you can get into those. Like,
yeah,
it's really interesting because you can do those with the most mundane things. Like, for instance, and I think we talked about this on the last episode of like, how when was the last time you stood there and like while you're washing your dishes, not trying to rush through them, but thinking about like each dish as you're washing it and putting it away
dude,
carefully? Like,
last night I had this experience. No, let me. That's so funny you said that. I don't mean. I sorry to interrupt, but no, I last night I literally I made this like balsamic chicken that like kind of turned out really messy. And I'm sitting there, we were watching the show, and I'm like, fuck, I gotta go do these dishes, right? And I was like just regretting. I was like, it's gonna be a mess, it's gonna be so hard. I went out, I smoked a joint outside, I walked back in, and I turned on some music in my ears. I had the best fucking like cathartic time doing those dishes. It was unbelievable. I was like, I don't mind this at all. I was like, it was like an art form almost. It was crazy.
yeah. And the same thing goes for like for me, for any musicians out there, it's the same thing. I playing guitar, playing piano, I get transported to
Oh,
another world and living in that. I mean, even like even this, for example, I'm always listening to music on the go, and the times that I'm reminded where I'm like, wait, no, listening to music isn't an activity that supplements my normal day. It can actually also be an activity. Like, when was the last time you sat with a good pair of headphones? Or if you don't have a good pair of headphones, like speakers or in your car speakers, just anything, and sat and listened to your favorite album, your favorite song, and like think of the separation. Like, what is the bass guitar doing? What is the drummer doing? What is the like? You start to
I
hear
do that.
things that you've
I do
never
that
heard
probably
in your
4 or 5 times
favorite songs.
a week.
Yeah,
I probably this is my favorite thing to do. Like my night chill is to like Robin will go to bed, like my wife will go to bed a little early, and I'll go in the backyard and I'll smoke a joint and I'll put in my Apple headphones and I'll listen to whatever album. And I look up at the stars. I'm sitting there, and just like listening to like just some really good music and just ask like just I don't listen, like I'm not like a musician, so like I'm not sitting there thinking about like, but since I've worked in the music industry, I do sit there and I zero out the guitar, I zero out the drums, I zero out the bass, and I'm like, and then because like I've sat there on the side of a stage before with like the in-ear packs, listen to
yeah.
individual like the audio streams from the individual artists. It was I do it all the time. I think it's like one of the most important things to do. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and the same thing can be said about a podcast. The same thing can be said
Oh
because like
yeah.
I think that it's so commonplace to multitask that like and I'm calling this out, but I'm guilty of it too because it's hard. It's easy to pop in your earbuds, go for a run while listening to music while doing a podcast. It's like two birds with one stone. I'm exercising and I'm inputting knowledge into my brain. But like we're so used to overstimulating ourselves that we haven't thought about
Yeah.
like what happens if I sit here and like think about what the podcast is saying and not distract myself with anything else. What happens? And I did this last night when I went on a very short run because it's like I figured like I have all this like technology and I have my little Apple Watch and I'm like, oh, I could pop my
Yeah.
earbuds in and go for a run with my Apple Watch, and actually like it wasn't working for some reason, so I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna
Oh,
leave
and
my
the run
earbuds at
and then
home.
the run shit.
And then I ran just it was like naked running. I don't know how else to describe it. Like I was just listening to my breath, looking around, looking at the houses, listening to the noises in the street. I mean, it was
Pretty
really
great, huh?
interesting. It's pretty interesting what your mind does when you leave room for boredom. Not even boredom, when you leave room for yourself to explore the space that you're in and not throw on a podcast and distract yourself.
Yeah, I completely agree. I know I have a few friends that run, just a couple miles here and there, and then a few of them they don't listen to music. And when I asked him why, it's like I just listen to like my feet. I listen to like the birds chirp, and I swear every time I do that, I'm like, wow, this is amazing.
It's
I
great.
don't know why I don't do it more. In fact, I'm gonna go on a run after this, and maybe I will just not. I mean, listen, most people that run at long distances do not listen to music.
Yeah. And to
They
most
just
people who are novice runners, you're like, why would I run without anything? My music is like keeping me going. It
yeah,
sounds like torture to
exactly.
not. And trust me, it sounds weird. And like there's probably going to be a bit of a curve where you're like, Oh my god, there's nothing to distract me from the pain that I'm experiencing. But that's part of it. It's
Right.
it's like that's part
It
of it.
is.
It's learn
My
to feel what
sister-in-law,
your
yeah.
body is feeling. Yeah.
My sister-in-law, like we both run like whatever, like 2 miles, 3 miles here, a couple times. And she's like, dude, I listen to a podcast. I have to like drain out it. I fucking hate it. And it is, it's like if you just take the fucking headphones out, it's really kind of a beautiful experience.
It is. And it's kind of funny because I experienced this at
Catch
work
me with my
too.
headphones in 45 minutes,
I know. Hypocrite. Yeah, I'll be calling you. I'll be FaceTiming you to make sure you're not have your
Yeah.
earbuds in. I
Uh,
at work too. Like I use two monitors. Well, I should say right now I'm at home and I have a two monitor setup. And we've been in this mid move into the office, and I've been going in every day, but we still don't have our perfect setup yet. And I've been just using my laptop, no extra screens. And to be honest, I feel like I'm more productive because like having two monitors to look at sometimes just kind of like there's too much information. I don't need all this shit on my screen. Like I can
Dude,
live
I
with
think
one
taking it back
focused
to the
lane.
basics is the way to do things. I also think that it's the way to do things in some business too. Like, I think what I see today is like a lot of people are like, oh, digital this, like, well, let's send them this email. Let's send them this email. It's like, let's get personal. All right. Like, let's go back to picking up a phone call, giving somebody a call, ask them how they are, ask them what they're doing. Like, let's get like every, like, as much as people like, I feel like we are way too sheltered with so much like that's readily available to us in every sort of facet of life that it's like if you would just take it back to the fucking basics once in a while, make a phone call, shake a hand, look at somebody, have a conversation in person, like I really think like you'd be better off for it, and your
100%.
business might be better off for it. I'm not saying like digital marketing is not good, like of course, but like just imagine if you like had a huge social media space, but you still did like a lot of like going out there and networking and being in front of people and sharing your social media space with them personally versus sending them a link. Like how like I don't think I've ever that's why everybody's like um when it comes to this podcast, I'll talk to people and they're like, why wouldn't you just send me a link? I'm like, I'll send you the link after we talk about it. Because like after we talk about it, that's the hook, right? And then I'm going to send you it and hopefully we'll drag you in there. But if I just randomly send a link to 500 of my friends that said, listen to my podcast, come on. Like
And
who's,
yeah. The funny
go
thing is,
ahead.
we were just talking about this before we started recording, and you and I are in a constant like we have different mentalities about it. And I'm like,
Right.
I'm in the industry of marketing and advertising and design, and so I'm like, let's make a product that's appealing. And you're like,
Right.
why don't we just hit record and talk and then upload it because like we're not taking this too seriously. We just need to get shit out like on an or timely manner. And I
Right.
think that's the difference because I'm, it doesn't always have to be the most gripping, most like
No.
dripping with like, perfect editing and graphics kind of thing. Like sometimes you
But
just
you
need
know
to
what it
create
is?
something
I
to get
think
it
with
out there.
me, you know what it is with me is that I'm like my way of like my big skill is a very old school skill. Like your skills pretty like new and fresh and like and so like I'm constantly having to integrate myself into like the new wave, but like at the same time like like and like so I think of things of like listen, like I'm a firm believer of like in person, like talking, like getting in front of people's faces, being like yourself and a human, like and versus like like being on a like getting an email set, like I send my clients emails. I'd much rather do it in a more personal way. I think like even like people I respect dearly and who have fantastic businesses. And obviously, who am I to say tell anybody like what to do? Because like most people I work with are more successful than me, so it's like it's not like but like I strongly believe that like my success will lie in like in more of an in person touch type deal.
I
You
think
know,
that Yeah, that is an extremely valuable thing, and it's the double-edged sword of online communities nowadays, because
Right.
social media and the internet has connected us so well, and it's also separated us very well in the sense that we can rely less on interpersonal things. But what I noticed, and this is just from us becoming a remote podcast, is that there is an element of in person, that an energy that can't be captured online. There is an energy that is present, like when you're with someone face to face, that it just, I'm not saying it's worse, it's just different. You know what I mean?
It's
it's just
different.
it's
Yeah,
just different.
it is different. I think that I don't know. I think that what like I can talk on the phone for a long time. You know, like I've always had that trait about me. Like I've had some deep, long, crazy conversations over the phone in my life, like hours and hours, hours. So I've always been able to like. I got to be honest with you, it doesn't feel that much different to me, which is weird that I'm saying that and you are
Hmm.
right. Like it's like it like to me like I almost feel like it adds a sense of like excitement to me because I'm like, oh, you know what, like I truly don't even know like it's so fresh. Like we start like before, like honestly, like I'd show up at your house. We maybe talk for a while. We even maybe ate a bite to eat, or even or like hung out for a minute and like talk the shit. Like I like the fact that we're on and then we go because I feel like it's more natural. We're coming up with more stuff, and it's fresher in my mind because like yeah like I think that but like I get not that I didn't love doing it in person, and I think you know eventually hopefully we will do it in person again, but I think there's a whole new element to it that I really like.
No, that's interesting that you say that, because I think I would agree with you, and that's the double edged sword. It's like it's, you get different benefits from those different ways of interacting with people
Right.
versus online and in person. And I think, well, this is a little sneak peek of what's to come in the future, and we can talk about this more offline because I don't want to spoil too much. But we may have access to a in-person studio here soon, which will be really interesting. And I think it will make us probably, it'll probably make me feel really embarrassed because we're going to have this extravagant set with extremely high quality cameras, and then we're going to be talking about what like that will make me feel really embarrassed because I'm like,
What do you
now I have to
mean?
bring my A
What
game.
is
Like,
it?
what the fuck am I going to bring to the table? But that's just my internal thought
See, that's the
process.
thing. That's the thing. Listen, like, and I think this goes out to a lot of people. What you've done will lead us to, has led us to that, right? So you bring your A game every day. You're bringing your A game right now. Like why one sec, why does a bigger space or more fancy equipment, or this is a question like I'm asking you, like why does a bigger space, more fancy equipment, and like a more legitimate setup to the fact like why does that put more pressure on it? I mean, it's not like like the reason we're getting there is because of just our way of doing the podcast. So and that fact to me, that wouldn't make me nervous at all. I just keep doing what I'm doing.
Because the implication to me in my head is that I have to now bring something of value that's more than just like talking about my day and what my fears and hopes are and what my thoughts on the internet is. And that is feels illogical because there's no difference between like sitting in person at my mom's house in our in her basement and like us in
Right.
studio. Like it's, we're just sitting together talking. But there's something about this podcast that I'm extremely afraid of, which is that I have now inhabited this ego of a person who does podcasts. And I think I'm experiencing right now,
Wait, what?
this is like a therapy session, okay? So
Yeah, no, I love
I'll
it.
explain what's going on in my head because I've encountered this with multiple things in my life. When I say ego, I don't mean like I'm extremely cocky now that I have a podcast. That's not what I mean. What
Totally.
I
No,
mean
no,
is
no.
that I identify as a
Because
person
we're
who
doing
runs
just
a
so well.
podcast. I know we're doing so well. We have we put
We're
out 9 episodes
making millions
over
of
the course of
dollars.
6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's really interesting, and this is something that I'm interested in exploring on this podcast as we go through it, because this is what happens in my head. So I'll give you an example. I during the pandemic, when I was living in Culver City, I was trying to challenge myself because I've never truly been someone who's, and I know you probably push back against this, but in my mind, I've never truly been someone who's so consistent that they could do a single routine every single day. Now, whether or not there's any value in that, sure, but that's just something that I've struggled with because I see that routine every day as a tool for me to set up and structure my days better. So I've been wanting to do that. I tried it over quarantine. What I ended up doing is I did 5 push-ups every single day. That was like the start of a routine. I was like, I'll try this. I don't know where it's going to lead. 5 push-ups is an embarrassingly small amount of push-ups every single day because it's only 5 every 24 hours. So it's like, why are you even doing 5 push-ups? That's not going to lead to anything.
It's better than not doing any push-ups.
There you go. And so that was my thinking. And I was like, I'll try that. A couple weeks later, I was doing 10 push-ups a day. A week after that, I was doing 20 a day. A week after that, I was doing like 30, 40, 50, eventually like 75 a day. And then I stopped completely because I missed a day and then I did it the next day. And then I missed 2 days and then I was like, this is too much. But why did I stop? That is the question. Like, why couldn't I just go back to the 5 push-ups a day? And it's because I had this idea of who I was in my head. And the idea of who I was in my head was that I am a person who can and should do 75 push-ups every single day because that's what I've gotten to. And if I don't do that 75 push-ups a day, that's not enough. I'm not living up to the person that I said I was, so I might as well stop completely. Sounds totally irrational, and it is because that's what my brain thought in that moment. It was the identity of someone who does a push-up, 75 of them every single day. And so when I look at this podcast, it's constantly checking myself and saying, okay, I run a podcast. Now there's an identity, there's an ego of some that's created of someone who identifies as a podcast host. That's dangerous. And the only reason that's dangerous is because then I have to work against my own standards of myself. And if I don't live up to those standards, I won't get editing done. I will feel like I'm not contributing anything to this podcast. I will just maybe I'll stop if I didn't have you here to keep me accountable, you know? And so that's extremely important for me. So when I say that I've now identified as someone who does a podcast, there's so many things that are associated with that, like fear, not being good enough. I'm starting to procrastinate because, my edits are at a certain level. When it's like, dude, just do the 5 push-ups a day. Like, it's not, you don't have to make it this whole thing. The five
That's
push-ups a
how
day for
I
the
am.
podcast is just go live and then put it out on the world, because
That's how I am.
that is every single time you start something and you think you're not good enough and you want to be more than that, you are shooting yourself in the foot. Your own brain is telling you you're not living up to some standard in your head, so you should stop doing this.
Yeah. I mean, dude, that's what I do.
And
I
if
don't
it,
I don't
yeah,
I don't put too much pressure on myself. Like
that is
it's
what a
it
lot of people need to, like, don't do very well that are in our
but
position,
it's
is my
like
belief.
it's a dangerous road because I'm good at like not letting myself fuck off, but I don't put too much pressure on myself. Like I didn't feel like I worked out 3 or 4 times this week. Okay. I didn't feel like working out yesterday. I don't work out. Right. I'm not, I'll work out. I'm going to go on a run today or I'll decide to do something else today. And if I don't work out tomorrow, who cares? But I'll work out at least 3 times next week. Right. Okay. So, but like, you just have to keep going. Like, you're not going to like nothing about like you being hard on yourself is going to lead to like if the track record is like with our podcast, right? Like, dude, we are busy people that find time to do a podcast that I mean, like we like, we like the results basically. I mean, we're getting good positive feedback and good numbers and we're pretty excited about it, right? Why change anything that we're doing? Why make it crazier? Why the constant need? Like I look at like some of like, I don't know. I think like you have to be in it for the longevity, because the longevity is what's going to make it successful. You know, like if you put way too much, like if you like, if I started, like if I didn't work out at all, right? And then I just was like, okay, fuck, I gotta go work out an hour and a half a day, an hour and a half a day. Yeah, I'm gonna go work out, right? uh, I would be like, I would be done in a week. There's no fucking way, right? I'm sticking to that now. But if I do a 30-minute workout, at least like four times a week, don't put too much pressure on it, or a 20-minute workout, that's a lot easier. You know, that's a lot less like what are we trying to do? And you have to know what your goals are. My goals are just to be healthy. Like I don't like need to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger or fucking, run 200,000 miles. Like I like to be able be active, be healthy, get out there and do it, right? But like, and the same thing goes with my real estate practice. Like I work my ass off, but like the second, and real estate really teaches you this, because like you get let down so much in real estate. It's a constant letdown. So like you got to make like this is what I tell like new agents. I go, you have to make a conscious, not effort. You have to make a conscious decision right now to not let any like roadblocks or letdowns let you down. So if you miss a day of push-ups, go fucking do it the next day, or do it the next 2 days. And like you, by the way, you don't have to go, like, trust me, you don't have to go. This is my opinion, by the way. Don't go. You don't have to make it up. And it could be like, oh, if I skip my 5, I got to do 15 today, because I just start back up with your 5 and keep going. If you miss another day, okay, great. Miss another day. Acknowledge why you did that and keep going. I guarantee you, the more you do that, the more repetitive it gets. I don't miss many very days of working out, and I'm not like one of these guys. Like I'm like, I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, I wake up and I'd spend an hour and a half. I do like a half an hour workout. I take a run. I lift some weights. I do push-ups. I do some yoga, like whatever it is. But I do a half an hour, and you know how I got that? I just kept doing little increments. And if I fell off one day, it was like, great, I'll just do another 15, 20 minutes tomorrow. And it kept building up. Now it's like, it's just a thing for me. I wake up and do it, just wake up and why? It's because I never put any pressure on it. And now it's been a constant in my life for 5, 10 years, or no, probably around 5, 6 years. It's been a constant in my life to wake up, or longer than that, since high school. Like whenever everybody's going to the gym and, oh, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to get buffed. I was like, I'm going to go run 2 miles and do some push-ups and then maybe I'll do that again tomorrow. And then it just kept building up. But I never let myself go weeks without doing it, or a week without doing it. But it was like, okay, if you're going to take tomorrow off, you have to do it the next day. All right. And you keep going. Right. And then now, like, it's hard for me not to work out, because like my body's so used to it. Like yesterday, like I'll do things where like I really wear myself out. I'll work out in the morning. I'll go play 3 hours of pickleball, and I'll wake up the next morning and I'm like, I got to like just take a day. Right. But that being said, like, it's so repetitive to me, that because I never put too much pressure on it, and it's like, I also think sometimes putting perfection on things, and not, this doesn't have to do with working out, but this has to do with, like, say, like editing or art or something like that. I think if you sit down and you're editing, like something like this podcast, for instance, like you could edit it to a fault, right? If you just put out like, oh, like I've always been like a person that like, I like, I'm just naturally who I am, and like I just, if it works, it works. And I think that like like certain things people do are like, they put way too much thought in it. Just get it out there, do it. Because like the scariest part about doing it, and from what I hear, is like a finished, like, what's the worst thing that could happen? A finished product that no one likes, right? So
Yeah.
you go ahead.
What's super super interesting about what you just said is it just made me think about perfectionism in the context of society at large. Like the people who make it, who are perfectionists, and I'm thinking of people who are artists, actors, musicians, anyone who is creating something and they got to where they are because of their own perfectionist nature. Like those are I'll call those like the survivors, quote unquote, of perfectionism. Because for every artist out there who is a perfectionist, who mastered their craft and got to where they are, there's like 50 of those same people on the other side who are perfectionists that never got to have their work out in the world because they were too critical of themselves. So perfectionism, and in some sense, is extremely valued in society because if you scrutinize your own work so much and you work on it, people are saying, "Wow, he's really, he really cares about what he does. He or she really cares about what she does." They're going out, they're really focusing on their craft, but perfectionism can be extremely pernicious. Like it's the thing that hampers us in sometimes in the worst kind of ways, where it's like, I don't want to be a perfectionist when it comes to my art sometimes, or my design work.
Right.
Like, how much more do you think you could get done and learn if you accepted that, hey, maybe what I do right now, maybe what I make in terms of my art, my music, my acting, my whatever, my sales pitch I'm going to go do, maybe it's shitty, and maybe I have to accept that fact and learn from those mistakes and then try a little better the next time. But don't put all this
Exactly.
pressure
Like
on
if I
yourself that it's
walk
like the
in,
end all be all thing that's going to save your life. It's not.
and I'm not saying I like, there's certainly times I come home, often I come home and I go, fuck, I should have done this better. Like that, like, but then I wipe it off. And dude, like I'm going to, after this, I'm going to go work out for a little bit and then I'm going to show a property. Like these clients are pretty sealed in with me. But if I said something like, or did something in the next couple hours, like that pissed them off to the fact for them to never use me, well, that is what it is, you know? And like the only thing you could do from that is learn from it and not do it again, you know? And with me, like, I think that like my thing is that like whatever you do, have some passion in it. And if you, and like, in my opinion, like if you're passionate about, if you truly try to find passion about something, then I think that it's easier just to be like, I'm in it for the long term. Like, doesn't need to be like, I just don't want to go off and just be like, I sound like, oh, I'm just just fuck off and like just things will work out. That's not how it is. It takes time, but you can it takes time and everything takes a lot of hard work, but you cannot be too hard on yourself because the second you're too hard on yourself, you're gonna fail. And I think like I've even real estate has taught me this, by the way. It has because there's times where you think you're have, a lot like a good thing coming up and one thing leads to another. And all of a sudden you found out that person decided to use another real estate agent. And you're like, okay. Like, or, you have like a plan, like it's going well, and your clients call you and decide like, hey, you know how you were gonna sell our $1.3 million house and make fucking a lot of money, right? Make thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Oh wait, we're gonna decide to rent it, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. Like, and like at first it's gut wrenching, right? And you're like, damn, like that was like I remember one time, not mentioning any names, a friend of mine, it was going to be like one of our first sales, and they knew that, and they didn't go with another realtor. Which what they did is they had, their brother was an attorney, and I've never really ever seen, nobody really does this, but they decided to sell their house for sale by owner, which is a crazy thing to do, but and then it was like, oh wow, like that was going to be like, and like we had just started, we hadn't made a lot of money, and it was like, oh well, that was going to be like $20,000, and now it's nothing, but it's like, what are you gonna do? And I had people that were like, oh, that was really fucked up move, like blah blah blah. And to me, it's like, no, it isn't. Like, it's business is business is business. Like, I'm not gonna get too hard on myself about that. Like, you just got to brush it off and go, like, go back at it. Like, I did everything. Like, if you, like, my thing is like, if you can, if I'm very good about being like, I've done everything in this scenario that I could have done to make it work, and if I can seal my, like pin up a day knowing that, then I'm okay. Now, I get with perfectionism, you might say you could be working harder, working harder. You have to find that limit to like if it's like, if you are doing that is make it, like, I almost think like being a perfectionist is a bit of, and do not take, please, I hope I don't offend anybody when I'm saying this, but I think it's a bit of a procrastination
Oh,
technique.
it 100% is. 100%.
Like I don't think you mean people, I think they inadvertently, because they're so, I think people that are perfectionists, because like my wife happens to be one and she's an amazing human being, and the best, and what the work that she does is phenomenal. But I think people do that and they go, well, I can't get this going right now because it's not perfect. I think it's like, but like, really, what is procrastination? Sometimes it's laziness, but I don't think if you're a perfectionist is laziness. I think you're scared.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like the what if I fail, but guess what? What if you fail? Who cares? Start the fuck back up. Don't be a bitch about it. Seriously. Like, and I know, like, I hope I don't come across insensitive, and I don't, but that's really what it is. It's like every failure you're gonna have, like, repetition is key. That is the catchphrase for this episode. Repetition is key, because it is. It's like sure, like, I can afford to take a day or two off working out because I consistently do it. Like, taking a day here, taking a relaxing day. Like, if I didn't run today, I wouldn't feel that bad, but I'm going to run tomorrow because I don't want to take more than like 2 or 3 days off is like max, max, max. But like, I do it enough to where that doesn't matter. I can go enjoy myself. I don't have to worry about it. And it's like, and that goes for a lot. Like, with the way I do, like, a lot of people, when they go and knock doors in my business, they do it like, I do 150 at a time. Now, like, that's really legitimate. And I'm like, if you stick with that, like that, like, you're doing more than I'm doing. And I know that, but I do like 30 doors at a time and twice to 3 times a week. But guess what? That's obtainable for me, and that's going to keep me going. And it's a lot more than a lot of people do. And it'll get done. Results will come out of that you know and I guarantee you I'm going to feel more comfortable doing that in 5 years than you're 107 or 200 doors a day now. So I think doing everything in moderation is also key. And especially if you're busy, like, we're busy, like, I'm busy, like, I'm not like, there's certainly people with busier schedules, but like, to commit to, like, and I think people always like go back to working out. I think that's like a big one, right? Because like, that's something like a lot of people, like, it's easy to throw that to the wayside. It's something people want. And I think if people would just do 10 minutes in the morning, like, for a long time I did that 7-minute workout app. And I was like, I can do 7 fucking minutes. Let's just do 7 minutes.
Yeah,
And it was like,
that's
that 7 minutes turned into 15, and that 15 turned into 20. And then we get 30, 40-minute workouts, and here we go.
yeah, that's the problem with yeah, is that people look at fitness and things that they put off, me included, as you either have to try extremely hard or not at all. And it's not the case whatsoever. Like that 7-minute workout app, like you're saying, like that is what, in my opinion, people should start with. Like, and it's kind of funny because my introduction to the gym was in college. Like my first real intro to the gym was a roommate of mine in college. And he's a bodybuilder and he goes to the gym 3 hours every single day. So for me, that was the absolute worst introduction that I could have had to the gym. Now, why do I say
Exactly.
worst? Because like, oh, he's super fit and he knows what he's doing and he does all these like crazy isometric, like workouts and just knows every piece of equipment in the gym. That's great. But he's gotten to that level because he started with the consistency. He started with the small stuff. He started not judging himself for
That,
skipping a
or
couple
like, is
days.
that what you want?
And is that what I want? Yeah, exactly. So I
Is that
remember
what you
going
want?
to
What
the
if I was your
gym.
roommate and I was like, dude, you want to come on a 2-mile jog and then like chill out?
Yeah.
That would have probably been like, it's different yokes for different different strokes for, I don't know, I forgot.
Yeah, for different
Different
folks.
strokes
Yeah.
for different folks, and the yokes and the strokes. But I mean, like, is that really like, to me, like, but I don't want to sit here and keep talking about exercise like that's the only issue people deal with. But like, but it is to me. It's like, I'm not looking for the 6-pack
And
abs.
it's the
I'm
perfect
looking at
analogy for every other thing. Exactly. You're not looking for the
it
six
is.
pack.
It is
And what does the 5 push-ups a day look like for you? Like if you were to do 5 push-ups a
exactly.
day in any other category of life, cooking,
You
like
know.
if you
You
want
know.
to, yeah.
I was gonna say, like, we grew up to say, one of my dear friends, her dad, who's also a dear friend of mine. I think we know who we're talking about. He is he's 60, forget how he's like early 60s. He's in phenomenal shape, like unbelievable shape for his age. I will give it to him. kudos to him. And he like talks shit to me because he's like, oh, you do like a 20, 30-minute workout, blah, 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 blah. I was like, yeah, but like, I'm happy. Like yes, I do a 20-minute workout. I still, but then to like it's like we play pickleball together. He's like, I'm in better shape than you. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure you are in better shape than me. Like, but like to a lot of people, I feel but like also who gives a fuck? Because when I go to the doctors, my doctor tells me I'm healthy. So what are we striving for?
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know,
Are we striving for like,
really,
hey,
like,
I do a longer workout than you? Like, is that something to be proud of? Like, you're
right.
healthy, but like, why compare yourself
My
to other
blood pressure's
people?
good. My
Yeah,
blood sugar's good. Like I'm good, baby. Like,
yeah,
and like my heart's good. But like the thing of it is for me is like, listen, if that's you 100%, I get, but like, I also don't like, who has a fucking time? I mean, he does, but like, who has the fucking time?
yeah.
Really?
That was the thing with my
Like, who
roommate,
wants to focus
bodybuilder
that
roommate,
much?
who worked out for 3 hours, and I was like, you know, he kept asking me like, "Do you want to come to the gym?" Because like it'd be 6 p.m. after my classes, and it's like it started to get to the point where I was like, "No, I don't want to go to the gym because it's going to take 3 hours, and I don't want to like." And so that wasn't for me, and it was a great intro to like what the pros would do at the gym who are trying to put
Well,
on all
3
this
hours a
weight.
day is fucking ridiculous.
It
So
is, it is. So
you need 20 minutes to 30 minutes a day
yeah,
of exercise, and you're fine.
yeah.
Like you could float. Like I mean, I have a little like stomach on me, but like I eat basically whatever the fuck I want. I mean, I also am 25. I understand that comes into play, but I know a lot of people that are not that are my age that are
Oh yeah,
all
for sure.
out of
And it,
shape.
it doesn't take that much to like get to where you are in terms of it's again,
Get to where
I
I am is so easy. That's what I tell everybody. No one gets it. Everyone's,
yeah.
oh, you're a good shit. Like, dude, you have no idea. I am 2 weeks in front of what you could be. Like, really. Like, if you spend really, if like honestly, if you just like did what I did for a month, I guarantee you. Again, I'm not even like I'm not saying I'm a good shit, but like I could tell you I could go run 3 miles right now without like it hurting. Like I can go crush a three. There's not many hikes that I take that I like. I'm like I'm in like decent shape. Like you could get like this in no time. Absolutely no time.
Yeah. All that to say
And I'm
that
here to
we should all be doing at least 7 minute workouts with no music and no podcasts. Just feel the pain.
yeah,
Well, that's
the I will say that I used to, like I go on and off of watching like strength videos like like or like workout videos. Sometimes I'll pop one on and do one like just to change it up. Uh I have so much more of a cathartic experience if I just am out there. Like I've actually gotten into the mindset where I happen to actually like now lifting weights. I never really did. I'm not in it. Like I just have like basic dumbbells and things like that. But like I can feel like it makes me feel good now. And there is even that. I like doing it with music, but even that, if you could do it without the music, is a whole therapy in itself too. Like it's so, and that's why like the unfortunate part of I think like I was talking to this with a friend of mine the other day, and one thing that I mean, listen, like I wish the world was different in a way is that like how great like I would love to go do Brazilian jiu-jitsu and yoga, right? But that is at least almost $600 a month to do those two things. Like maybe a little less, but it's like ridiculous, right? And like I don't even like those two things. It's like it's just crazy to me. Like I get why a lot of people like can find themselves getting out of shape. Like in my opinion, like there's no excuse to me. Like you can buy a jump rope for literally at $5 and have one of the best workouts you can get, right? But like a lot of people are motivated by like a class setting and like going somewhere and having a schedule and doing that, and that's great. But how can people do it if a yoga class is $180 a month?
well, if this is an
Because it's
actual
not the same
question,
experience.
it's not
What?
like if this is an actual question, what I would say to someone who's asking that is that there is always a level of attainability when it comes to like you don't like there are body weight exercises you can do on YouTube. There's
Of
plenty of
course. And I'm
shit.
not saying this is an excuse not to work out, but I'm saying I don't know. I think that if I would even go as far as saying that I could start a charity for like people that
That are
want to get
starved
into
of
like
yoga
yoga. I don't know.
lessons. Yeah.
I don't know. I just think
Hey,
that
man.
it's like it's ridiculous. Like I think exercise is like one of the most important things
I
like
agree with
people
you.
do.
I think exercise, like there could be, hey man, this is getting to the land of some government policy, like because I'm a big liberal, but there you go,
Yeah, I know.
state
I
funded
want to
gym
get you started.
memberships.
I mean, I also like how long have we been out doing this?
We're right at an
Like I
hour, so I think that's a sweet
okay,
spot.
I got about another like 15 minutes. So,
Yeah.
but dude, I'm like this is where like I differ. Like I'm a master in none. That's like the biggest thing to me. I'm not like you are so well read when it comes into like government policy and things like that. Uh I'm way more of like a independent thinker type person. Like I lean both ways. But yeah, no, let's get you started. Crank it up. Let's turn so
Let's
essentially into a
just
politic talk.
God, no, no. I think the audience would hate us for that. But
I don't know about that.
there's something to be said about this, and this goes, I guess, more goes to like the education standpoint. Like it's not so much a liberal talking point, but I think that conservatives and liberals would probably both agree with this, is that like why aren't we learning this kind of stuff in school? Like why like man, it bothers me so much that like home ec in high school, or like we had a life skills class in high
Mm.
school, Max and I, and
Talking about sex and not
right.
exercise.
And then we talked about how to do an interview, maybe for like one class. I remember in my class, we did like
Mm.
how to interview, how to do your taxes, but those were like rushed over really, really fast.
Rush hour. How about how to invest?
Yeah.
I got lucky in high school because I had ADHD and dyslexia, so I had all the intermediate classes. They never gave me. I was never on a program where I needed to like have a certain level of like mathematics skills or anything like that. So they gave me a choice of what class I wanted to go do. And instead of taking algebra, I don't know why they gave me this choice, but one of the choices was a class called financial math. And I was, that sounds interesting. And it was I don't know if you know who Dave Ramsey is.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was the Dave Ramsey course. They Oak Park High School, our high school, bought the Dave Ramsey course, and that's what it was. It was they had Mr. Barnett, the head of the math department, would like sit in the room for the hour, and he would like literally just play Dave Ramsey, and that was the most beneficial class I have
Hmm.
ever took in my entire life. I could have taken that and not done any other class in high school, and I would have been well on my way. And the fact that everybody didn't get that experience, that class honestly probably shaped me into I was today. To be honest with you, I got to be honest with you. That class was so integral and important to me that like I even right now I'm realizing like the second as I'm talking like like really if you go back and think about it, sure I had some like people like we've gone back of it. Like my family was never good financially, but like I had some people around me that were pretty good financially, sure. But like hearing like watching the Dave Ramsey videos, uh, and I totally agree with that. The fact that we're not learning basic life skills. How about like uh instead of like forcing kids to go do runs that they don't want to do or something, like why don't we do yoga classes? Why don't we have like a jiu-jitsu class, or like like, things that like are mentally beneficial. Like there were some things in high school that like I just didn't think that we needed to learn. Like if kids are interested in the weightlifting, sure they can go do the weightlifting, but like what about a tai chi class? Something that's really going to help these kids' anxiety and stress level, because these days, like I read these like terrible facts that these days like kids have the stress level of like it was like of like somebody in like a high school or an average American high schooler has like the same stress level as like a fucking day trader in Wall Street in 1980 or something. And it was just like what? Like that's not what I heard, but it is like the stress level these kids have is staggering these days, staggering. Even suppresses what we had. I felt like like I was pretty stressed out as a kid.
Yeah, I look, so was I. And I think there's some of that that comes into play with puberty and moving through life at that stage. But, we weren't super affected by technology as much as, Gen Z kids are now. So, I mean, it's pretty terrifying, but I agree with you 100% in that, like, it's kind of a shame that we have to figure ourselves out as humans. And when I say that, I mean like what routine works for us, what kind of food, makes our body run well, what kind of exercise works for us, like what, do we have good habits? What kind of habits are we incorporating in our lives? Like, I'm not saying that has to like replace all of academia and learning math and science because that's extremely important too. But some form of like, there's some disconnect. Like, it's my opinion truly that we're deeply missing that in society is that like we can't we're like failing our youth to some extent with the current school setup.
Yeah, I think we are. I mean, listen, like I'm always to like a default, like a glass half full kind of person. So I think there's a lot of good that's coming out of being raised the way they're. I mean, I think kids are
I
more
would agree. I don't
innovative.
think
I
it's
think
all
their
bad.
brains are working.
Yeah.
I don't think it's all bad either. I think like it's kind of forcing kids to even grow up a little smarter. Like the kids these days are so smart. They're so smart. I mean, I even like people that are like 5 years younger than us, or I'm younger than you. Like if you put 5 years below me, that's like 20. And so, I know some 20. There's this kid, and maybe I was like that because I always felt like I was a little bit like maybe like more talkative than the average like middle schooler or 12 or high schooler. But there's this kid that plays pickleball at our pickleball courts. He is 14 years old, and we all just found that out. And dude, this kid like sitting there like has a personality of a fucking 30-year-old, and like in like and doesn't look young, by the way. I thought he was young. I thought he might have been like 18 or 20, but he is 14 years old. He's sitting there talking shit. This look, and it is. I mean, he's a great guy. It's Ted, and like I heard he was 14 years old, and I told everybody that, and they're like, "Are you out of your fucking mind?" Like we're like everybody's like, "Oh my god, we're like terrible people." Like before that, I'm like I was sitting there like, "Fuck you!" Like he's good. Like I was like, "Ted, you fucking suck," and like we're like yelling, like everybody like he talks shit back. We're like, whoa, 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 whoa. We're literally talking shit to a 14-year-old kid. But it's like kids are just so much more. I don't know, like they just seem to have like a level of like knowledge that we did not have. Maybe you did, not me.
I sure didn't. But yeah, it feels like people are maturing younger and younger, and I think that's generally, from my loose research on this, that's just generally how society progresses as education gets more and more advanced. Like, you're gonna have kids who are smarter earlier because we're pushing the boundaries of like what we're teaching young kids at like the rate that we
Right,
teach them at, and like kids' brains are sponges. So if you push that limit, like go figure, they can learn a lot of things and mature pretty quickly and understand complex
right.
concepts. But yeah, I think that's amazing. That's so funny that like 14-year-old can act like a 20-year-old. You see that a lot with like kid actors, but I mean,
No, this kid is like he's funny. He's a funny dude. I mean, and he's really good at pickleball. But anyways, hey, I think this is a good. Do you have anything more to say?
no, I really enjoyed this episode. I think that I sort of as a recap, I think I always talk directly and sort of indirectly about my problems. And so whenever I talk about this stuff, I'm also talking to the people who are going through the same things that I went through, whether it's dealing with depression, dealing with not feeling like you're good enough. So if there's anything that people take away from this, I hope that they understand that they're not alone in it, and that there is there is there is an existence outside of your brain that can be good, and that it's hard to get there. It's hard to see that at first, but once you find it, it will change your life.
I agree. I agree. Also, real quickly. It's funny. I think a lot of people think that I'm like this like really gnarly guy, like in that like I have like a really I lead my life really strict. What people really don't No, it's just like, because like I have a lot of friends like, oh yeah, you don't go out to dinner a lot. Like you're like, you guys seem to like just hang out, and like everybody's like, oh, you got to enjoy yourself. And like Rob and I like have one secret, like we do fucking enjoy ourselves. We just don't post about it on social media.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's like I'm somebody that I works hard, that like but like you don't have to be fucking, just relax about it a little bit, just chill out. Everybody's gonna be fine. Like, and like have fun while you do it. Just make sure you're doing it too, but have
100%.
fun with it, because life is fun. Life's supposed to be fun.
Hmm.
It's not supposed
It's
to be
not all
this hard
suffering.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not all fucking suffering.
Despite what Nietzsche or any other
It is
philosopher
though, but
says.
I
Well,
mean,
in the grand scheme of things, sure, but
at least when you're hearing it from us, you can believe the lie for a minute.
you can trust us as philosophers when we say that life should be fun. So have some fun.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust me. Anyways, that was so essentially.
That was so essentially. Thanks, everyone.